Hi, this is Miss Litton, and this is lunchtime. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, so we're reviewing chapter 26. So flowering plants, control of growth responses. Can somebody hit a light because I can't see? Oh, hey, there's some animals. Okay, so I talked about how living things respond to their environment. Plants can respond to an environment just like an animal can respond to their environment. And it's the idea of signal transduction. And you had a video I had you watch on signal transduction, I recall, in your hyperdoc. Okay, so these are the three key parts of signal transduction. Now, signal transduction is not limited to plant hormones. This is just one way to explain it. It works in animal hormones as well. It's how one cell can communicate with another cell. It works in our own immune system. This was just one place where I could discuss it. So you have to have a receptor for that message. And we talked about proteins. They could be a channel, right? They could be a carrier. They could be what else?
Receptor.
Cell recognition, receptor, enzymatic. And we talked about cell junctions, right? So you have a receptor for that signal. When that receptor receives it, it could be enzymatic, okay, and it could trigger something else, a series of metabolic reactions. So what's happening outside is affecting what happens inside, and eventually you get some sort of product, okay? This could be somebody standing outside your kitchen window going, I am hungry, you better feed me, and you run around in your kitchen. That's the transduction. You make some pie, okay? That's your end product, okay? That's signal transduction. Message received, activities happening, we have a product. That product could be the formation of some type of protein. That product could be the release of glucose from a cell. Either way, signal transduction. So your hormones. Now, your plant hormones, you don't have to know all of those anymore, but these are a good example of maintaining homeostasis. This is a good example of responding to your environment. That's why you would end up talking about them. One of the first hormones, look, Charles Darwin and son Francis Darwin studied auxin, okay, a plant hormone. And they did different experiments where they took these coleoptiles, these like plants just shooting up out of the ground. And what they found is that auxin comes from the apical meristem of that shoot, and it comes down. And the reason why they knew that is if they left the plant alone and they would shine some light, the plant would tilt towards the light. If they cut off the top of it, the plant didn't respond. So they knew the auxin was coming from the growing part. If they put a metal hat, like a hoodie over it, that was solid and wouldn't allow light to come in, it wouldn't bend. So they knew there had to be some receptor for it. If they put a clear hoodie over it and it could sense the light, it would still bend. They took agar, like expensive gelatin, and they would cut the top off, put some agar, and then the rest of the plant, and it would still bend. And they realized it's not an electrical signal because the electrical signal would not pass through the agar, right? Yeah? Okay, so they knew it had to be a chemical signal. And then they took sometimes where they took a tip of a plant and put it on some agar and shine some light on it, and you could store it in the agar and just put the agar on one side or other side of the plant, and it would bend whatever way. Now, you learned how auxin works. So what happens is, if the sun is coming from where the dragon is in the room, right? Okay, if that's the sun, this is my sunny side. My right hand would be the sunny side, and my left hand would be the shady side. So auxin moves to the shady side of the plant, and it weakens the wall. Maybe a proton pump, perhaps. You know how I love those. And it puts the hydrogen out in the wall, acidifies it, weakens it, so more water will go in on that weakened wall and stretch the wall out. So through cell elongation on the shady side, my shady side is still growing, but my sunny side is not. It's going to force me, right, if I grow over here, it's going to force me to turn towards the light. Okay, so auxin is a key plant hormone. It is impactful in so you know, on movement towards the light. It does move to the shady side, and it has a lot of other, here we go, auxin. These are all of its jobs that it does. So if I was going to pick like one hormone, you know, like I say, if you're going to pick one bacterium to talk about, who would I have you talk about? Cyanobacteria. Why? Nitrogen fixation, oxygen revolution, right? Okay. If I was going to pick one hormone to talk about, I'd talk about auxin, because auxin is involved in phototropism. Tropism is growth in a direction toward or away from a stimulus. It could be positive phototropism. There could be negative phototropism. Negative phototropism is if I grow what? Away from the light. A shoot wouldn't do that, but who would do that? A root. A root would do that, right? Okay. Gravitropism is in response to gravity. Does a shoot demonstrate positive or negative gravitropism? A shoot, right, negative. Because I'm going to grow against gravity, right? I'm going to go the opposite way of gravity. If I'm a shoot, I want to grow up. But if I'm a root, I'm going to show what kind of gravitropism? Positive. I'm going to grow with the gravity. It also, another hallmark of auxin is apical dominance. And what happens is when a plant is growing up, the auxin is right here. The auxin exerts dominance over the part right below it, and it says, you shall not branch, okay? And it doesn't allow it to branch. Well, as auxin gets farther and farther away, then it's not influencing it anymore, right? If I'm down here, it's influencing, but now, like, my knees aren't going to be influenced by the auxin that's coming here. And so as a result of that, it starts to branch. Well, if that's how it starts to branch, then your smallest branches are going to be at the top, and your biggest branches are going to be at the bottom. How adaptive is that? Super adaptive, right? Because that means that the top branch, if you branched as soon as you sprouted, what would I do to all the below me? I would wet it. I'd shade the rest of my leaves. Why even have leaves then? Might as well not even have them, right? But because my biggest branches are at the bottom, I won't shade, and also I'm not top heavy, okay? So super adaptive, that's apical dominance, and they know that because they pinched off the tops of them, and they just start branching. And you could do that, like at home, you could just pinch off all the tops of your growing shoots, and then instead of having like a slender branch, you would have a bushy bush, okay? All right. Seed development, it helps with seeds to, so does gibberellin, another hormone, but you don't have to learn that one. And thigmotropism is in response to the environment. It could be touch. Auxin is involved in that. So these are examples of auxin. Put the plant on its side, it'll turn up, and phototropism, it'll move towards the light. Here's your apical dominance. And there's auxin. And I talked to you about the acid growth hypothesis. What auxin will do, using ATP, proton pump, acidifying, weakening the wall. So normally if you have a really strong wall, water goes into your vacuoles, it's not going to do anything. But if your wall is weakened, then it can enlarge. But you also have to have the ability to turn on genes to make more wall material. Otherwise, your wall would expand and break, right? So you have to make more wall as it stretches. And then these are just some other hormones. Gibberellins, I call it get jibby with it. That's the party hormone. It breaks dormancy, but you don't have to know those hormones anymore, and that's why I made those small. This is extra gibberellin. It also helps with cell elongation. Cytokinin, this is an easy one to know, because cytokinin, what do you hear in that? Cytokinesis, it makes cells grow by making more cells. A combination of auxin and cytokinin, you can make either roots grow or stems grow. It prevents aging of a plant, so it prevents senescence. I always think senile, right? Old and senile. It prevents senescence. You're making more cells. You're staying regenerative, so it prevents it from aging. Abscisic acid, if auxin is about the yes, abscisic acid is about the no. Abscisic acid gets you ready for winter. I don't want to be growing a bunch of leaves during winter because I don't have as much light. That's a dumb idea. So abscisic acid makes the leaves fall. You know what else abscisic acid does? It relates to transpiration and guard cells. Closes them. Yeah. Yeah, it's about the no. No, no leaves. No, close the stomata. No. Okay? So abscisic acid is the no. But it's okay to say no, right? Because if I'm losing a bunch of water, I want to close my stomata. If it's getting to be winter, I don't want to make new leaves. So it causes that wintering, and it causes guard cells to close. And then ethylene, this is an easy one to remember. I think old Aunt Ethel. It causes fruit ripening and drop. So as Aunt Ethel gets older, her fruit is ripening. Girls in here. Oh, but it's recording. Yay. Fruit ripening and dropping, whatever that fruit is. Okay, and you know how they talk about one bad apple can spoil the barrel? That's because ethylene is a gaseous hormone. So when I have fresh bananas and old bananas, I don't like that. Because my old bananas are releasing all this kind of ethylene, and it'll make my other bananas ripen faster. Okay, so one bad apple can spoil a barrel. And when they can pick tomatoes when they are not ripe, and then artificially ripen them with artificial ethylene. But they don't taste as good. Exhaust can do that too. This is a list of the hormones. Now you know them. Okay, now plant defenses. How can they protect themselves? There could be physical structures that they protect themselves with, like thickened bark, thickened edges of leaves, needles, toxins. You know, there could be physical external structures that they protect themselves with, and then there could be chemical ways to protect themselves as well. So here, if you have stinging hairs, I mean, those could contain a toxin within them, or you could have sharp spines. But here's an example of a signal transduction pathway, and I think it's pretty cool. It's like a plant's defense of itself. So here, some pathogen is coming in. So here's the virulent pathogen. There's a what for that pathogen? Some sort of receptor. And it doesn't have to be the pathogen directly. It could be a chemical produced by the pathogen, or it could be a chemical produced by plant cells that are affected by the pathogen, right? Okay, so some sort of, you receive some sort of signal transduction pathway, hypersensitive response. It sends a signal throughout the plant and tells them, be careful, caution, you know, and makes the cells be more resistant. Sometimes, I can't remember because I haven't opened this. Sometimes there is another one too. It causes all the neighboring, like if the pathogen is coming in through here, it'll cause all these cells to die. They'll be like, you just have to kill yourself. And the reason is, if you have an area of dead cells, then there's no way for the pathogen to get from one cell to another because they're all dead. So just commit suicide and save us all. You know, the good of the many outweigh the good of the few. Okay? So that's another thing they can do as a defense. If there's a wound, this is an example of if you have wounded tissue, okay, which is because somebody's chewing on you, like an herbivore, okay, you can release a chemical, cysteamine receptor, signal transduction pathway, and then maybe you start producing a toxin which will make whoever's eating on you sick. Okay, that's another way it can defend itself. Then one of my favorite ones is, and I thought some of those videos were pretty cool that I stuck in there, is like even the sound of a caterpillar, right, munching, it's like, what the heck? That, you know, ear of corn, you can hear a caterpillar, you know, but those are sound waves, right, coming in at a certain frequency, you know, just like I can't hear a really high pitch because I'm old, right, where you can hear a sound that I can't hear, and if it would make me like, you know, dance around, you'd be like, let's play the song, make her dance, right? It can trigger a response. That would be a signal transduction pathway, right? And so you can call in, you can release a chemical. Sometimes plants will generate a hormone that makes the bug that's eating them go into their next step of their life cycle fast, sometimes too fast, so they like mutate out and die, or sometimes like the caterpillar version of it will eat the leaf, but the butterfly version won't, so they make it go into its next stage so it'll stop eating them, so they can control them hormonally as well. So those are some different types of defenses. And that the wasp one, that's a cool one, right? Release a chemical that causes a wasp, and then he likes to lay eggs inside of them, which then makes it kill him because it's a parasitic egg. Super cool. This is a symbiotic relationship. You've learned about this before, about the acacia tree and the ants that live in the thorns. And the plant provides food and shelter. The thorns are shelter, the plant is food, and then if like a grazing animal comes to eat, all the, like they're like, not my plant, you know, and they go and attack them, and so that they won't want to eat there. Okay, tropism, plant growth towards or away from you. It's broccoli. To me, that does not look like a tree, it looks like broccoli. Going towards or away from a stimulus. Light, you're following. Light-sensitive pigment, phototropin. So you have a receptor for certain wavelengths of light, which allows you to take advantage of the most light as possible and the direction that it's coming from. How do phototropins affect auxin? Phototropin seems to cause auxin to go to the shady side, and so that part will expand. Thigmotropism. Thigmotropism is unequal growth to the side that's touching, okay? Like say I'm going to be a vine that grows up here. The part of me that touches, I don't grow, but the auxin moves to the untouched side, so then it expands, and if I'm not growing, it'll cause a natural curvature. Do you see that? It'll keep expanding on the side that's not touching it, which will cause it to curve around. Why would that be adaptive? I can use that so you can get me taller because I'm a vine and not very strong, and I don't focus my resources on thick walls to hold me upright. I just use your thickened walls and get up to higher places so I can get more what? Light. Okay, super tricksy. Then you have rapid responses like Venus flytrap, you know, where something closes on it, or it appears to be like an electrical response. Stigmomorphogenesis. This would be like if you have constant like wind that wants to blow you over, then you might have some areas that are thickened. Gravitropism. I already talked to you about auxin jobs. Last one, okay, last big topic in this chapter is PFR, okay, PR and PFR. In the morning, you are PR. As you're exposed to light, you become what? PQ. You become PFR. And, okay, so during in the morning you're PR, and as a result of the light you will convert, it's like a toggle. You'll toggle into the PFR condition. Then throughout the night you will slowly degenerate back into the PR. This is how plants can tell time. Okay? This is how they can tell, because in the winter, think about it, in the winter we have short days and long nights, so you'll have a lot of time to regenerate your PR. But in the summer, we have what? Short nights, so you won't be able to regenerate as much PR. You'll be PFR heavy because you have these long days, so you'll have a lot of PFR, right? So some plants need a lot of PFR to flower. Some plants need a little PFR to flower. So if you want a little PFR to flower, little PFR, okay, that would have to be a winter, right? Think about it. If I want a little PFR to flower, a winter, wait, Summer, yeah. No, okay? And so, unfortunately, they are misnamed because people used to think it was the length of the day. Was that a ring? Or that was a chair. I'm all, what is going on? They used to think it was the length of the day, but it is really the length of the night. Okay, so this plant right here is a short day plant, so it needs a long night, which would be in the winter. So there is a minimum number of nightness that it needs in order to flower. So in this case, it would not flower. These are flowers, okay? It would not flower because the night was too short. This one had a long night, but it was interrupted by a flash of light, so no flower. Okay? This one is a long day plant. It needs a short night. So here, night is short. Are we going to flower? Yeah, because I need a short night. Uh-oh, I have a long night. Am I going to flower? No. Long night with interruptus? Yes, I will flower.
Would that
Yes.
flash of light, would that be like lightning or something?
That could be somebody's headlights.
Oh.
So you could go around and like flash a light in somebody's garden and screw it up. Day neutral, they don't care light or dark. Okay? And that is it. Oh, wait. Let me show you one other thing while you're leaving. Look at this. Sometimes they'll compete with each other to shade them out. Okay, I just like that. Okay. Good job, you guys. Proud of you. Super smart. Love you. Have a piece of toast.